Today we are showcasing Rotimatic. It's a fully automated roti maker. This is the first time we are bringing to Canada, and it's available on bestbuy.ca online.
Been using this device for a year now, and it's absolutely lifesaver to me.
This is very handy device. It's a small, compact, very easy to make the rotis.
So you can make crepes, you can make wraps, you can make rotis, parathas. Multi-talented machine this is.
Now Rotimatic is available in Canada online at bestbuy.ca. Free shipping within 3 to 5 business days across Canada. Welcome to Behind the News, your weekly feed of news analysis. I am Halima Sadia and I am joined by Mohammad Rizwan. So let's have a look what has made the headlines this week. We will begin with a Canadian court in Vancouver granted bail to Huawei top executive Meng She was detained since December 1st. The news came as a relief to the governments and to the world markets. So Rizwan, as far as the economy and US-China world trade relations are concerned, what do you think? How much this detention and then the bail is going to impact those relations?
Halima, it was a big news when it happened. It created waves across the world because Huawei is a tech giant in China, one of the top 10 companies in China and one of the major players in the world. And the lady Meng Wanzhou, Huawei's chief financial officer, she's daughter of owner of Huawei. And though it's a private company, but you understand that in China there is nothing private as we understand in the Western world. And there is always a government-private kind of thing, even if you are a private company. So Huawei is a big player from China. And when she was arrested, she was going to Mexico from Hong Kong, and she just had a layover in Vancouver at the Vancouver airport. And she had her, an extradition warrant against her by the US court. And that extradition warrant was executed by RCMP at Vancouver airport, and she was detained. As soon as she was detained, everybody around the world, just waited, held their breath that what's going to happen and what would be China's reaction, because it directly placed Canada into the crosshair of US-China trade war. The war is going on between US and China. Negotiations are going on between them. Tariffs are being slapped back and forth between US and China. But Canada is the one who executed these warrants. And Canada, to complicate the situation even further, Canada is in its own talks. They were considering to have a very comprehensive and detailed bilateral US-China trade agreement. So everything was put in jeopardy. The market reacted sharply and they fell in the US. New York Stock Exchange and the other stock exchange, especially Asians, they fell because they knew what could be the implication of this arrest. And as expected, China reacted very sharply, very angrily, and they summoned the US ambassador, they summoned Chinese ambassador, and they warned them of consequences if she is not released on bail.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you here.
No problem.
This is all about US and China.
China, yes.
But Canada's economy is struggling already and involving itself, and since she was the resident of Canada. So what do you think, how much it is going to impact Canadian economy and how much it has already hurt it?
You're right. Canadian economy is doing fine. It's doing okay because there are no big external problems. So internally also, if it's not on a heat or it's on a very upward shooting trajectory, it's stable and it's. But this news about US, US, China, and Canada coming into crosshair, yes, there were serious concerns, Harima, about the implications on Canada, because Canada was seen as an executing US court warrant, which Canada had to, because they had a very long-standing, very close extradition treaty between the two countries, and they had to do it. So when the news came that she was picked up from the Vancouver airport, everybody in Canada was kind of waiting for the outcome. But now she has been granted bail. And the bail is limited. It will not end the matter here. The bail is just a reprieve that she would not be spending her time in prison. She would be spending her time at home in Vancouver. And she would not be traveling anymore. She had to surrender her passport and a $10 million warranty, guarantee on that. No, sorry.
Bail.
I'm not sure was it $1 million or $10 million, but you know it was a heavy warranty, a bail warranty. Now the thing is that now the real court procedure will start. The extradition request from the US, which is pending with Canadian Justice Ministry, that will come up for hearing. And the judge has to decide that she will be extradited to the US or not. Judge will not decide. Justice Minister of Canada will decide, but the judgment will be remarkable in that connection. So, in all this context, President of United States, he tweeted yesterday, and he said that US-China negotiations will be, easier or something on these lines, regarding this Huawei's chief executive arrest. Let me clarify another thing is that she was arrested, not that she violated any rules in Canada, or not that she violated any Canadian or Chinese trade rules. She was arrested because her company acted as a front to dodge the American sanctions on Iran. So the United States was obviously keeping an eye on the whole situation, and that's why Meng, the CFO, she avoided any US airport in her travels for the last 1.5 years. She was not touching down on any US airport. But and she was not coming to Canada either, but this time she decided to stop over for a couple of hours, and that was kind of enough for her. Now the prognosis, how the things will move forward, I think all will depend on the current trade negotiations which the US and China are having, and which were given an impetus in President Trump and President Xi's talks in Buenos Aires. That would decide that fate of Meng also, because that would be closely associated, because it's a US case, and US, the courts of the US will decide, of course, about the extradition, but after the extradition, it will be Justice Department who would be dealing with the situation. So all depends on how US-China trade negotiations in their tariff war, how they would move forward.
So is it going to impact Canada also, Canadian situation? What do you think?
Yes.
Because if we touch upon that, we will see that the ex-diplomat who has been held in this whole scenario, in this all pulling and pushing. So we have the concerns as Canadians. We do care about our people also.
Yes, Halima, it was, the reaction, like I said, was very sharp and angry. And there was a Canadian diplomat, former diplomat, who was based in Beijing, and he was arrested after the Meng's arrest in Beijing. So though there is no apparent connection, because Chinese government says that he was arrested due to a backdated case, but at the same time in China, the importance of signals are more than what is actually happening on the ground. So basically it was a signal to Canada that you arrested Meng, and that could be one part of the retaliation. Yes, I think the whole, as far as Canada is concerned, the decision was taken by the law enforcement agencies and the Justice Department and the court, but I'm sure that the equation, the trade equation, the political equation, the economic equation, all these kind of equations will come in play, and it will be decided that how US and China will go forward and move forward in these negotiations, and which is not far away. That will be decided in, I think, couple of months, that are they going to cool it down, or is it going to go more hot, or whatever. But in a way that the US markets are reacting, I think the sense will prevail on both sides. I mean, both sides, China and US, I think would not want to take it as far as as both get damaged from this whole scenario. And Halima, this bail thing is one aspect only. The bail has been granted, and this bail is just to decide that she will not be living in prison, and she will be living at her home. That's all the bail says. The real extradition request will come for hearing very soon in front of a Vancouver judge, and they would decide that the extradition will be done or not. And then it will be off from Canada's back, and it will, she will, if the extradition request is granted, she will be moved to United States to face trial, and then it will be between US and China, and Canada will be out of picture for a while. But yes, like I said before, that in this situation, Canada's and China's relationship, if we were expecting that they would be go ahead and sign a very comprehensive and future-looking trade and deals and economic deals, that I think will be doubtful now, because both sides will the trust is not the same as it used to be, and both sides will tread it very carefully. But at the same time, I would like to stress that both sides must have calculated the risks as well.
So, viewers, we have just touched upon US, Canada and China relations, and we have seen the latest what is going on. So, it's time for taking a little break, but stay tuned, because we are going to see how Pakistan is talking about, in this situation, in this economic situation, about economy and US relations in regards of crisis or economic crisis. So let's have a little break and stay tuned. We are going to talk about US-Pakistan economic relations in this background.
Today we are showcasing Roti-matic. It's a fully automated roti maker. This is the first time we are bringing to Canada, and it's available on bestbuy.ca online.
Been using this device for a year now, and it's absolutely lifesaver to me.
This is very handy device. It's a small, compact, very easy to make the rotis.
You can make crepes, you can make wraps, you can make rotis, parathas. Multi-talented machine this is.
Now, Roti-matic is available in Canada online at bestbuy.ca. Free shipping within 3 to 5 business days across Canada. Welcome back to Behind the News. We were having a discussion, we were having an analysis on US-China and Canada's relations in context of the latest Vancouver bail of Huawei. So let's see how Pakistan is advising USA to take care of its own debts, then talking about Pakistan's economic crisis. How intelligent it is, and should a country like Pakistan react that way? Because we are right now living in a global village where each and every move and each and every word counts. Rizwan, what is your analysis about that?
I'll begin with smiling. And why? I mean, that's a helpless smile, I would say, because somebody, I give them, I give Prime Minister Imran Khan and his team one thing, that they are political novices, and they have just come into power. Nobody has any experience of government and statecraft. But there are people who have been running organizations, who have been in public-private kind of life, like our finance minister Asad Umar. And the thing you have pointed out, Mr. Asad Umar has been running a multinational company in Pakistan, and he was chief executive officer. And I'm sure he should know that how the words matter, and when you say something, you can't say it like a street fight, even if you have to express your displeasure. It's not statecraft, it's clumsiness, I would say.
And even if we are working in a multinational company, we have to take care of the CEO regardless.
Of course,
we have
yes.
to acknowledge that the CEO is CEO. We can't just go and say, shut up, you take care of yourself. So we should be ready for the consequences.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there was a question, he was talking to Stephen Sacker of Hot Talk, and he was having an interview discussion with him. And, you know, the thing came up that how the US is perceiving Pakistan's, you know, economic problems which they have at the moment. And the finance minister said that US should not be worried about what Pakistan owes to China, Pakistan debt problems to China. US should be more concerned about their own debt problems to China. Fine. What point he's trying to make? Well, he was factually wrong. One thing I will have to mention here. He said that the US owes $13 trillion to China, a amount which nobody has ever heard of in its dream. Actually, US owes $1.2 trillion to China. And those loans are not bilateral loans as such. They are sovereign debts kind of situation. When there is a sovereign debt, the other countries buy those debts in form of treasury bonds. Why do they buy those debts of another country? Because they do not want the other countries which they have a strong trading interest and trade inflows, they do not want their currency to be too much stronger than their own currency. So that's a practice which countries, two states, always do. So China has bought US Treasury bonds worth of billions of dollars, and that makes $1.2 billion. It's not a bilateral that US government owes this much to China, which China has to repay. That is one thing. In Pakistan's case, it's a bilateral debt in terms of dollars which Pakistan has to pay back, and pay back fast. So these two situations are different. China is not buying Pakistan's treasury bonds. They are giving money in Pakistan's kitty to execute whatever projects, and Pakistan has to pay back in certain amount of time and in certain amount of interests. So these are absolutely two different things. So much for the facts. And another thing which I have already pointed out, that he was totally wrong on his figures. He needs to check his math also. So these two things aside, come let's see the political part of it. You are telling the only superpower, the economic superpower of the world, that you take care of yourself, and
We are fine.
We are fine. Fine. I mean, you can say that. Why not? What if you are superpower, or what if? But at the same time, you are asking their help in everything. You are asking them to talk to IMF on their behalf. You are asking them to talk to the various other countries so that your strategic alignment could be redressed. You are seeking their help all the time. And vice versa, they are also talking to you on the issue of Taliban and on the issue of peace in Afghanistan. So the governments are talking closely. So what's this public bluster is all about? I mean, what thing you are trying to prove? If these things were secret, that you haven't asked, Pakistan, U.S. help on many things, and we have seen on ground that those what is happening, then your talk would have been gone unnoticed. But the whole world knows that you have asked United States on certain things, and United States is asking you on certain things. And you both know that, both the states know that where do they stand.
And they need each other.
They need each other in a way that Pakistan needs 95% to US, and the US needs maybe 5%, and that too.
It's a CO versus an employee
and
situation.
that too in a one particular problem of Afghanistan, and that too with a one particular group. So just look at the leverage position before you speak. What is your leverage on US? What is US leverage on you? And then you decide to speak in a bluster and in a threatening way, or in a way that we don't care whatever you say. So I think the first lesson, they will keep talking. They will the issues will be real. The issues will have to be dealt with as they will have to be dealt with, regardless of what Asad Umar and his colleagues and other people say. Those issues are real and they have to be sorted out. But the thing is that somebody needs to teach them a lesson in public diplomacy. They need to learn that.
So let's come to another point, which US State Department has placed Pakistan in blacklist of religiously intolerant countries. They have the lowest tolerance for religious minorities in Pakistan. So how do you see it? In the other hand, in one side we are in an economic crisis, we don't care about United States. On another side, we are violating the human rights and we are going to UNO to cry and woe for our human rights. How do you see that?
Good question. How do I see it? You tell me that the kind of situation regarding religious freedom and religious tolerance we see in Pakistan, how do you see it? Obviously, it's a situation, I see it like this, that this thing, actually they have marked Pakistan a country of a particular concern, on religious freedom. So, of course, Pakistan is a country of a particular concern because just lately we have seen that how Asia Bibi was treated, and how a court, the highest court that case should have been dismissed at the trial court level. The highest court, it went to highest court after she spent 9 years in jail on the fake blasphemy charges. And then when the court acquitted it, the right wing and the mullahs in your country, they did not accept the verdict. They came out on streets. Nobody stopped them. They just played havoc, closed roads. Everything was done in the name of religion. And then, Pakistan is saying that, who is US to teach us what religious freedom is and what religious freedom is not. I mean, that's absolute nonsense.
So Pakistan is also pointing out towards the religious intolerance in India. So do you think there is any comparison possible?
That's very interesting. There is a comparison, of course. I would say this. The comparison is possible. India at the moment, ever since the rise of BJP, is going very low on religious tolerance level. The minorities are threatened there. I mean, they don't feel as they used to feel safe in their own country. And they have their own problem in terms of religious intolerance. I am sure when the next election will come, the voters will sort it out one way or the other, or the people would decide that which way to go, or if they don't decide, they know what the consequences could be.
But don't
because they have seen just next door Pakistan that religious intolerance.
I was going to go there, but I don't think so there is any comparison possible.
Yeah, how far they have taken that.
If we see the history and if we put it into the perspective of Indian nationalism, they are still trying to intact their national policies to the extent where they are capable of handling their state.
Yes, I was saying that there is a comparative situation at the moment in India and Pakistan. India is not is being seen not as religiously tolerant as it used to be, and but the problem is that pointing out to India will solve your problems. Will it be religiously tolerant country that you will say, no, India is not tolerant. Okay, Iran is not tolerant. North Korea is also not tolerant.
Saudi Arabia is not
Saudi Arabia is not. They will not say Saudi Arabia. I'm sure. China and Saudi Arabia, they will not say that they are religiously intolerant. Yeah, India is intolerant. Okay, fine, India is intolerant, but how does it make your situation comfortable?
Or how it justifies that you're fine with whatever you're doing.
I mean, the State Department or the world or, forget about State Department. The world is asking you. The people from your own countries are asking you what you're going to do about it. I mean, the religious minorities are being chased out of the country. They are being harassed. They are being persecuted.
And if we see from economic point of view also, this is one of the main reasons the religious extremism is not letting Pakistan sustain their own economic interests either.
Of course, yes. Economic situation, the bad economic situation in which Pakistan finds itself at the moment is somehow links to the religious intolerance as well, because who would come and invest in this country in this kind of atmosphere? You need to have a free society, you need to have a free economy to be able to attract investment and investors. But coming back to the point, I mean, trading allegations, okay, I mean, if we are religiously intolerant, India is also religiously intolerant, but the thing is, how does make your situation better? India let India's problem, they will take care of their own problem. They are a separate state. They will not ask you.
And they have proven economically on the world
Economically,
scenario.
they are doing fine and everything. But at the same time, let me say this. When you say these kind of things, this is one way of saying that we are not going to do anything about it.
No,
because
that means it's okay. It's normal.
Yeah.
So, and it has nothing.
You are not identifying the problem. The problem world is identifying for you, and you are not even agreeing to it. So first you have to identify and then to rectify. So you are not even identifying the problem. You are just, distracting the discussion by saying, okay, that country doesn't have, that country doesn't have. And you know what? In this religious freedom index report, which was issued by State Department, but it is sanctioned by US Congress, Pakistan is in the bracket of which countries? In the company of which countries? Iran, North Korea, Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan has come out, Turkmenistan, and maybe Tajikistan, and there are a couple of other countries. In this company, and you are trying to say that we are just fine. So it's basically a kind of thinking which needs to be changed if the world has to take Pakistan seriously.
Thank you very much for sharing your analysis, shedding
you.
light upon different behind the news scenes for us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Harima.
Viewers, thank you very much for watching Behind the News today with us. We will be with you for next week's Behind the News. So stay in touch with us.